The real estate industry is evolving fast. Higher interest rates, changing buyer expectations, social media pressure, and AI are reshaping how agents build trust, generate business, and stay competitive. But the agents truly thriving in this market are doing a few things very differently. Welcome to the Seven Figure Broker Podcast, where we talk with top performing real estate professionals, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders about what it really takes to build a thriving business in today's market. This show is all about growth, strategy, branding, systems, and leadership, and the mindset behind sustainable success in real estate. We go beyond surface level tactics and dive into real conversations around scaling a business, building relationships, and navigating market shifts. Whether you're an agent, a broker, investor, or entrepreneur, our goal is to help you have practical insights, honest conversations, and strategies that you can actually apply. I'm your host, Nancy Margrit, founder of Optima Pro AI, and today I'm excited to speak with Elizabeth Monarch from the Monarch Group. She's going to talk to us about what is actually working in the real estate market right now and how to build a standout brand and what it takes to create long-term success in a relationship-driven business. Elizabeth, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm so excited. So thank you for the opportunity. It's great to be on your podcast. So I know we've talked about it for a while, and it's just great to actually make it happen.
I love it. I'm excited to have you here. You have a dynamic personality, and I'm excited to hear some of your insights. But before we even dive into all of that, why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about your background, kind of how you ended up here, and then also you have like a laundry list of accolades that we could go through. So I'd love to, if you could share with the audience some of the different accomplishments that you've had in the real estate industry.
Well, and again, I've always said, Nancy, that my husband and my mother do a better job at bragging on myself than I do. You know, it's just, we as women, we just get in there and we try to just get it done. Right. But I do have over 24 years of experience. I tell people, that's, 2.5 decades, in the real estate, business and real estate industry. I feel like I've done a lot of different facets of real estate, everything from sales to building a team, coaching, training, running a brokerage, running a franchise, helping people blow up teams and rebuild those teams. Also, a lot of experience with recruiting and now being the state broker for the entire state of eXp Realty. We also still have our real estate team. We also have our real estate auction company. So a lot of times, I feel like I can pivot pretty quickly, but when I don't know, I tell people I don't know. And I always encourage and let people know that, you know what, I can find you somebody that has that experience. And really how my career started, I've got a degree. I'm originally from Breckinridge County. I got an undergraduate degree at Transylvania University. Moved to Louisville. My brother was in medical school at that point in time at U of L, and I moved to Louisville. Got started working on my MBA at Bellarmine. Did graduate from Bellarmine with my MBA, and during that transition of getting my secondary education, somebody said, you know what, Elizabeth, you have your real estate license. I know you. I trust you. Will you help me sell my home? And I thought, absolutely. You know what? This sounds interesting. This sounds fun. And I really feel like at that point in time, real estate actually found me at that moment. And that was when, I felt like I could build something that was really, truly mine. And I've always been what I would say a people person. I love Louisville. I love real estate conversations. And it came down to building those relationships. And at the end of the day, when I was about 27, I'd been in the business. That was back in 2008. The market had crashed. I had no idea really what was going on. All I knew was I just had to sell real estate. Realized at that point that I actually had a business. Maybe I should use my MBA. Maybe I should, put all that knowledge and all that education to use. And I also realized that in moments like that, it's always great when the market's good to have, everybody knows a real estate agent. There's over 5,400 realtors in the Louisville surrounding market. There's a lot of great realtors. Yet it's always when you stop and think about selling one of your largest assets, you might have a best friend that's a realtor that you love, but you know what? When it comes to that type of asset, you want to use somebody that's got the experience, that knows how to market it, and that, is going to do all that they know to do to sell it. So that's a little bit of my journey. Of course, I've got a lot of designations behind my name. I will say probably I keep thinking about what's one award that I've gotten that meant the most to me. I have been awarded Realtor of the Year from the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors. I'm the past state president. I was the 100th state president. At that point in time, there had only been 9 women in 100 years
Wow.
at the state level. And when I was state president, we were the first state team that had all women. And I'm very passionate about women, helping women build wealth. So that's something that I have capitalized on in terms of real estate. I will say last year I got awarded the Lindsay Craig Award at the state level, which is voted on by your peers and it's for leadership. And I feel like that award just proved that I'm walking the walk,
Mhm.
not just talking the talk, because leadership is not easy, and also the real estate business. But I tell people nothing is easy anymore. And Nancy, you know that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, in any type of business world, no matter what widget I say you're selling, developing those relationships, maintaining those relationships, and really doing the right thing when it's not easy
Mhm.
is something that I find is a rarity in the business world today.
Yeah.
So,
I would agree with you 100%, and I love that you're taking an extra passion in supporting and uplifting women because it is important, as we build out our businesses to really identify those women that are in the same headspace and doing the thing, right? Because as
yes.
women, as you pointed out, we just jump in and do it. It's like I know there are several times I'm like, "I just don't have time for you to do it. I'm gonna just jump in and do it because I know it's gonna get done and it's gonna get done right." So I can appreciate that.
And I always like to say with a bucket gallon of coffee, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like one morning I woke up and I'm like, oh, I've got bags under my eyes. I was like, and I've got this, I've got that. And, we just grab that coffee and off we go and we just knock it out. And,
Mhm.
and that's where I truly believe that, being good with yourself and getting good, that's not easy. And we hear it, I mean, you listen to different podcasts, read all those books, and it's just it's one thing to listen to it and actually really do it and believe in it. And I think that it's really I have to take it, I'm sure you do too, day by day. When you have
Mhm.
children, you've got life experiences happening, and it's a day by day adventure. And then oftentimes I have to say, you know what, today I might not have accomplished a lot, but I helped a lot of people.
That's right. Yeah, and that those are the some of
So
the most important days of building those
yes.
relationships, which kind of leads me to my next question, which is, what do you think really separates agents who are building a true long-term business like you have done to those agents that are just constantly chasing the next transaction?
Well, and I tell you, Nancy, that's a great question because I have a lot of conversations with agents over, the last, I would say I've been in the space of attracting agents for about 10 years. And when it comes to, talking with agents on how they built their business, how they maintain their business, I always, my team gets on me because I always say, you know what, anybody can have one good year, but it is an agent that consistently year after year can put those type of numbers up. And I truly believe my husband, his simple answer to this question would be she makes everybody feel like they're her only client and she runs herself ragged, and no matter what the price point. I oftentimes years ago had a local elder law attorney say, Elizabeth, you treat that $20,000 listing like it's $1 million listing. And I've always been of that notion, just growing up in a small community where you would go and see somebody having a cup of coffee with overalls on. I always said don't ever underestimate because they were probably one of the most wealthiest landowners in Breckenridge County. And I grew up where I watched my grandfather farm his entire life and save 98 cents of every dollar. And I saw what he did for his family and I saw that generational wealth that he was able to build. And when I talk to agents about how do you maintain that consistency, and when I look at my personal business, I really think it comes down to relationships. Now, I feel like that's an overused word. right? You ask any agent, they're going to say, I built my business by sphere of influence, by referrals. But
Mhm.
really, it is about the relationships versus the receipts. And that's really, in my opinion, that's what it comes down to. The agents who are always grinding, always hunting for that next deal, they're exhausting themselves and their clients. And I just truly believe that that's just something that's not going to last. When I am having those conversations with agents about their lead generation and about what they do in terms of keeping up with their clients. Now,
Mhm.
I will say this, Nancy, it gets harder and harder the more years you're in this business because I have clients that are having babies and they're growing up and they're playing soccer and then they become best friends with this mom who might be a real estate agent. But at the end of the day, they know Elizabeth Monarch is still here and that no matter what, I'm putting their interests first
Mhm.
and that I am still going to survive and be okay if I don't sell one deal.
Right.
But I think ultimately that long-term success comes with the relationship, but also running a business. I think a
Mhm.
lot of agents don't look at their real estate like a business and they're not looking at their P&Ls on a month to month basis. They're just spending money, right? I mean, it's like, oh, this next great thing is going to make a difference. And I really encourage agents that they need to be in an environment that can sustain those relationships and to where they can learn how to run their business like a business owner and not just somebody that's chasing that next lead.
I think that was a great explanation, and it really underscores the idea that we all kind of know that you really have to, if you're going to build a business the right way, you have to be in it for the long haul, and just chasing that next big deal is never going to get you to a sustainable place, because
Right.
a lot of times chasing that next big deal, you're really shorting your client. So I love that you take that time, and I experienced that when you sold one of my investment properties, where you jumped in, and I almost didn't even bring it to you because I was like, it's just such a low number. It's just not that big of a house. And you jumped in and you really took a hold of that, and you ran with it, and you did just a phenomenal job with presenting it
Thank
out
you.
there and advising in terms of like, when should we change the price here, what should we do to negotiate as we get closer to the signing table. So I appreciate that you do show up for your clients in a different way than I think a lot of realtors do. So you are building something bigger. Was there a moment in your career where things really shifted and you realized, hey, this is something bigger than just selling homes?
Yes. And I tell you, I think any entrepreneur, we have lots of different moments, right? I mean, I specifically remember when, and I think that in real estate and just really focusing on real estate, that's one of the largest challenges that I see a lot of agents go through is they're always like, you know what, but they want me. They want me. Oh, Nancy, they want Elizabeth. They want, they don't want so and so. And the moment that I had somebody on my team that represented a client who was a past client of mine. And my past client called and said, you know what, Elizabeth, I was slightly nervous when it wasn't you that showed up, but I trusted and knew how you operate. And I knew that this person would not be working with you if they didn't know what they were doing.
Mhm.
And that agent took that transaction. Of course, I kept up with it. And, that way, because it's not that I won't let go. It's just I love my clients. And it was at that moment when that transaction went all the way, got to closing, and that past client gave us a rating, a 5-star Google review, and said, Elizabeth, hands down, I will always forever use you. And that's really when I knew that, the Monarch Group wasn't just my brand anymore.
Mhm.
That's when I knew that I had an umbrella and I had a business that I could help other agents build their business underneath that umbrella and utilize the resources and the experience that I'm able to help them bring to the table.
I think that's awesome, because you really are, when you come in with the reputation that you have and the experience that you have, and you're able to create that brokerage and bring in other like-minded individuals and really train them on the experiences that you have encountered and the things that you've encountered and your processes and what really works and what builds that relationship in the right way. You just you can't not every broker can emulate that, right? Not everyone has that mojo, if you want to call it that, where you're able to really come in and influence people in such a way that you're teaching them to be that legacy company, right? Be a part of that legacy company. And I think that's just a beautiful thing. And I 100% agree with the client that you said that was, because I even told you when I came to you with that property, if you need to send one of your other agents out, like, I totally get it because I trusted you and I knew that you wouldn't have someone working for you that didn't know what they were doing and wasn't going to have my best interests in mind. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the market and buyer
Mm.
psychology. So what are you seeing right now from buyers and sellers emotionally and behaviorally in today's market? Because we're in a volatile market and it's leveled off a lot, I feel like, and it's starting to trend upwards some. But it's just I feel like in today's climate, we're constantly on the edge of our seats, like what's gonna drop next. So how is that looking for you as a real estate broker? What does that look like?
Would say paralysis. That is like a one good word. I mean, when I saw that you were going to ask me this question, I'm like, that's, and I will say this, just a couple days ago, I was explaining to my husband, I said, I literally had a client that told me, they said, Elizabeth, this buyer's just really savvy. And I'm like, no, they're not. This is the market we're in. I'm like, I've been doing this. I've sold over 3,000 homes. They are not savvy, right? I just wanted to say this is the type of market that we're in.
Mhm.
And I will say this, Nancy. I also was explaining to an attorney a couple weeks ago that there are moments in this market that I feel like I'm in a 2008 market, a 2017 market, and then a 2021 market. And the attorney goes, now explain those three markets, Elizabeth. And I said, well, I literally woke up one morning thinking, I'm like, I have been thinking about this listing way too much. Why has it not sold? I've had 70 showings and it has not sold. And Nancy, I'm not kidding you. Yes. So, I
Wow.
mean, that's exactly the action that I had, and I'd say behavior I had in 2008 when I didn't really know as much as I know now. And there's a lot I don't know. But in 2008, I would get up every single morning and say, I've got 63, 64 listings and I can't find a buyer to save my
Mhm.
life. And it was constantly having that conversation with the seller to say, hey, by the way, nobody wants to see your house today or this week, or nobody's looked at it in a month. We need to lower the price. And I would have people that would cry in the listing appointment because they had already spent their equity in a car that was sitting in the driveway or in a
Yeah.
boat. So there are moments in this market that I've had that feeling. Then there are moments in like the 2017 market where we started seeing the market. It was starting to change. 2018, 19, and then COVID hit and bam. I mean, I was getting 25 offers on a property, and I had that Excel sheet and I was going through that to where, the conversation that I'm having with buyers is similar to that in 2017, where, they are, I'm going to wait till rates drop, and they're overthinking. And
Mhm.
what they don't realize is that if they wait 3 more years, they're going to lose all that equity versus $400 extra they're paying a year.
Right.
So it's really being able to analyze that with a client and walk them through on, here's the disadvantage if you wait, because rates are not going to drop 1.5% this year.
Right.
However, you've got more inventory right now than you've had in 2 or 3 years. We need to get out there and see if any of this inventory fits your needs. So
Mhm.
I think that word paralysis is a really good word that I'm seeing going into the soon to be third quarter of 2026. Buyers know they want to move, but they're really feeling that squeeze. I mean, with inflation, with the war, that consumer confidence is still there, but it's not as strong as it was a couple years ago. And I mean, I'm just having that conversation and helping our buyers understand that they need to start really considering making that move right now. Also, with our sellers, oh, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm like, you better do all that work. You better not wait. I met 3 clients last week that are going to be selling probably in the next 90 days, but I'm like, you have got to put the work in. I mean, and when I say work, it's not major renovations. It's cleaning the house up, organizing things, getting things moved out because buyers have choices now. You know,
Mhm.
I had one showing on Sunday. It was the first showing in a couple weeks on a listing. And the buyer's agent said, Elizabeth, the buyer saw 6 properties today and loved all 6 of them. I'm like, what? I'm like, that doesn't help my client, you know? So here I am. It's like, what do you say to a seller? I mean, I tell them what the buyer's agent told me, the feedback, but it's like in this type of market, our sellers are really, they've got to be willing to negotiate on repairs. They've got to be willing to give on concessions. And what I'm finding is that first offer is your best offer. And if you are a seller in this market, you better work that thing till it's dead. I mean, because I have 2 situations where it's now been over 30 days and we have not gotten a second offer. And it could be another 30 days. And the longer a property sits, the more a buyer's going to scratch their head. They're going to have paralysis and they're going to say, what's wrong with this home?
Mhm.
So, and I really think we're going to see this type of analysis from buyers. And I think that conversation that I truly believe the strong agents, because there's a lot of us out there, the strong agents are telling the sellers, this is what it's going to take. And it's really, we're seeing a lot of expireds. We're seeing a lot of cancellations. So we're starting to see that flow again, which we really haven't seen in probably 4 or 5 years. So it's going to be interesting. I really believe in the next 12 months to see what, as that pendulum starts moving back, we might have a short time where it evens out. And then, I think it's going to definitely move back towards a buyer's market in certain areas.
Okay. That's a great insight. So, and I love how you broke it down into different eras so we could have kind of an
Yep.
understanding of what you're looking at and what a hodgepodge of opinions and situations that you have. So, in that kind of vein or note, let's talk about what are you seeing and what do you believe is the biggest misconception that consumers currently have about buying or selling a home?
Firmly believe that the misconception is that like, for example, I'll wait till rates come down.
Mhm.
And I think that really is the biggest misconception that's holding the market back. I also that this next one I'm going to say, I believe it's kind of been hands down for many years, is that a lot of buyers think that they have to have a lot of money to put down on a home. And there are so many loan options right now. I mean, and what works for you, Nancy, isn't going to work for me. And what works for me isn't going to work for the next person. But I will say this, I've got 3 sons. I've got one that's getting ready, my second one's getting ready to get engaged. And they know that buying that home is that first step of building wealth. So, and I think it's that misconception that, oh, I'm going to wait till rates go down. It's going to be cheaper. It really isn't, because home prices aren't going down.
Mhm.
That's the part that I think a lot of people get really confused. And then when people want to have a conversation with me, sometimes I'm like, I'm not even going to argue with this person. I mean, they think they know it all, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to let them. I'm thinking, they've sold 4 houses in their lifetime, and I'm thinking, I deal with this stuff every day, and as a principal broker, I deal with stuff statewide.
Mhm.
So I'm seeing things all the way from Ashland to Paducah to Bowling Green to E-Town. Every market is a little bit different. But, one thing that's still happening is home prices are stabilizing, if not still slowly going up. So I
Mhm.
think people think they're going down, and I'm like, they're not. They're not, which is good for all of us that own homes, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're still seeing them rise, and I love
yes,
the old saying, you marry the home and date the rate. So I love that saying because it's true, and we had this period where we were like near zero interest rates that were just unheard of, and we just can't compare to that because it was really an anomaly in the market in terms of
right.
where we were at that time. So are there things that maybe worked in real estate marketing a few years ago that simply don't work anymore today? Like on the marketing side?
Well, That's a great question, actually, because I think that honestly, more agents should be asking that too.
Mhm.
If you've got realtors that are listening to this, and I would say what has changed over the last couple years. I mean, personally, I feel like everything, and I really do mean that. The game used to be get the listing on the MLS, throw up a yard sign, wait for your phone to ring. And now I feel like the agents who are winning are the ones who are the people,
Mhm.
right? And the people that are searching, they're searching AI platforms. They're also looking, I think that has definitely been a huge impact. Can I say transformed our industry? Not yet, but I think eventually it
Mhm.
will. Do I believe that AI is going to replace us? No. I think people are still going to want that knowledge of that person. I will say this, I love it when I have clients that will send me an email and I'm like, that looks like Chat GTP. That
Yeah.
looks like Claude. I mean, and
Huh?
I'm thinking, wow, they know the numbers, but here's the thing, they can put that into AI, it'll spout out the numbers, but they aren't able to process it and talk it like me that is in it. Right.
Mhm.
So I think that that's where that human experience will, at this point in time, I don't believe that it's going to go away. I believe social media has changed a lot of what we do in our industry. The agents that are saying, you know what, I've never been on video. I'm like, well, you need to. I think that social media is that a platform for me personally to get business. You know what? I think it complements my business. It strengthens my business. I think when my clients can see that I'm out there, that I'm doing this in the community, that I'm listing this, it gives them confidence
Mhm.
that they're like, you know what, Elizabeth's still in it, right? Elizabeth's in the game. And I think that it's agents like me that have been in the business 2.5 decades that should be utilizing that platform more because we've got the connections and the relationships. So I definitely think that when I say everything in terms of marketing, it's definitely more than just a sign and an iPhone taking pictures. I mean,
Yeah.
I tell agents all the time, I'm like, you better have a professional photographer doing all of this. So,
Yeah. No, you're
yeah,
100% right, and I love the approach that you're taking because social media, yes, you kind of have to have it, but it's not the end all be all. It's one prong it's one spoke in the wheel, right? And
yes,
having that hub and that central, okay, we're working together with all of these different areas to provide this cohesive brand. And that's what I love to do with our business is jump in and look at a brand holistically and work with kind of all of those moving parts and how can we integrate some solutions that are going to help optimize what you already have in place without trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. So I love that you're taking that integrative approach to social media instead of that it's the one and only thing that
yes.
you utilized. So what then does operational excellence look like in your business? Tell us a little bit more about kind of your systems, your automations, or your workflows, whether it's marketing or internal. I know you do a ton of relationship building. Like you reached out to me before and after during the sales process, and I got multiple touch points in terms of like Google reviews, but also like a gift and a handwritten note, all kinds of stuff. So tell us a little bit about your processes with all that.
Well, and I will say this is the part that I believe in abundance, right? I've always told agents I am more than happy to share checklists with them. I am a checklist queen. And really that started when I think most women, right? I mean, we
Mhm.
we all have those
Live and
checklists. It's
die.
like, yeah, it's like how am I going to accomplish, and there's days I walk in that I'm like, it is a miracle that I have done what I've done today. And nobody really will get it. I'm just like,
No.
the Lord knows. I'm like, He knows exactly everything I've done today because nobody would believe me. And I tell you, my mama, she tracks me and she's like, you have been all over the place. I said, I know, mama. I can't even begin to describe my day. And meanwhile, on the phone, putting out fires and stuff. But that's the part that I feel like we have mastered and we've really tried to shield our clients from all of that chaos
Mhm.
because you know what? When our clients decide to work with us, we know that they've got kids. We know they've got a career. We know they've got a life. And that's why they're hiring us is not just for our expertise, but to make the move as easy as possible. Now, I tell you, the word easy in today's world is not, I mean, that's kind of sometimes a fallacy
Mhm.
because it's complicated. And I feel like selling real estate right now is more complicated than it ever really has been
Right.
because of the type of world that we live in and the mentality of the world. And that's what brings a lot of those challenges. And I feel like our success with those type of challenges, it is our systems. It is our operation. It is our contact management resource. I tell people the best database you have is the one that you will use. And a
Mhm.
lot of agents will just use Google Excel until they can figure out what type of system that they can import that into. So when it comes to from the moment we take a listing, we really hone in on those checklists and we've learned by failing forward. I mean,
Mhm.
really that's simply, and that's why I tell agents, look, you know what, let me help you with my checklist. I'm like, if this will make it easier. And then from the time that we list it, I really firmly believe that our clients should hear from us 3 times a week. Once with an email from our staff and our listing to kind of give you an update of here's what's going on. Two, they get updates from our MLS on how many times people are looking at their property. And three, typically either a phone call from our listing manager or me myself, right? Just
Mhm.
touching base. And a lot of times as showings are happening, our clients are hearing from us regardless. Then when it moves into that pending status, it's having that checklist. We've got a phenomenal transaction coordinator that she is worth her weight in gold. She works with a lot of agents, not just the Monarch Group. And I oftentimes will tell agents when I'm coaching them and they're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, and they'll say, "Hey, Elizabeth, I really want to bring on a buyer's agent." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, time out. Let's talk about your business and let's talk about how you can properly leverage." Because that's really where I learned from my own mistake and I learned failing forward that, leveraging yourself to the max is the first thing. Because
Mhm.
people, when you're starting your business, people want you and people are hiring you for you.
Mhm.
But as you grow, it's leveraging that ability where you can still stay in front of them and be on the phone. So, a lot of different systems that we use. I will tell you, that's where that whole marketing side is a beast in itself. And, I really don't know, Nancy, to be honest, how individual agents do it anymore.
Mhm.
I heard Tom Ferry speak at a event in Cabo a couple months ago, and he said that he has agents that are on teams that make more money than individual agents. And a lot of times, I think that fallacy of operations and that fallacy of how a real estate team is made up. People think, oh, I'm giving up all of this when they don't realize how much they're leveraging.
Mhm.
And that's truly where I think the Monarch Group has we're constantly learning and trying to perfect that, where we've learned through our systems to help other agents grow their business.
I love that. Beautifully put. So I'm kind of a systems nerd, so I love when you have a good system because once you figure out something that works, it's just common sense to duplicate and duplicate. So I love that you have those systems in place and you're creating those touch points for your clients so that they have that relationship and they are constantly communicated with because there's nothing worse than someone that doesn't communicate because you have to have that communication. We talked a little
And
bit.
real quick,
Oh, sorry.
Nancy,
Go
can I
ahead.
add
Yeah.
one thing just in
Absolutely.
case there are realtors that are listening? That is the one aspect that I have seen with agents that have only had 5 or 6 years of experience because they got in 2020 and 2021 when, you know what, by the time you listed the home, it was under contract. So
Mhm.
a lot of agents don't have that listing checklist where, guess what, the average home right now in our market, GLAR, is setting for approximately 48 days. So you imagine 48 days and then you have 30 to 45 in pending status. Agents that got into the business over the last 5 years, they've got to get that system nailed down because if not, I mean, they're going to lose their client and they're going to
Mhm.
lose that trust and they're going to lose all that momentum that they had. So that's why I tell people you've got to have that type of communication system with your client. And if you don't, again, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to share mine because guess what? In real estate, it's called R&D, rip and duplicate. Everything I've gotten from somebody else and just made it tailored towards the Monarch Group. And that's where I always say there is no magic pill. It's just called WORK, work. So I'm more than happy to share that with people.
No, that would be great. So we talked a little bit earlier about some AI aspects, especially in terms of marketing or even in communicating with buyers and setting expectations that maybe are coming across unrealistically through AI. AI is becoming a bigger conversation just in real estate in general. Where do you think AI will genuinely help agents, and where do you think people are kind of overestimating its ability?
Think I'm going to start with the overestimating. Really, personally, I don't believe that, a buyer of mine that's buying a $600,000 house is going to do it over a chat box, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I think, those are the people that want to truly talk with an agent. I use AI every single day. I use chat, I use Claude. We also have Myra, which is through EXP Realty, and we actually have courses. We have a dedicated 6-week course on how we can utilize AI in Canva.
That's great.
We also, I mean, which I oftentimes say we all fight time, right? It's
Hmm.
taking the time to learn the AI. I think AI could really, really probably make more of an impact in my business if I would take time to learn a particular type system. Now, I will say I used to use Fixer on my email, and then I panicked. I mean, I was waking up panicking. I was panicking. I felt like I was missing emails. So I think that not all AI is best for
Hmm.
every single person, right? I mean, and I think you've got to find the system that works best for you. But I tell you, I utilize it. I just was negotiating a large commercial transaction for a dentist, and I used AI to analyze some things that just really narrowed it down for me and just gave me that snapshot of saying, okay, I get that. I mean, I got it, the big picture, but I needed it narrowed down. So
Hmm.
I really think a lot of agents are missing a little bit of the boat in utilizing it, but like I said, I use it to look at numbers. I use it to draft emails. I use it for, our social media. But you got to be careful, right? You got to go back through and read it. You can't just copy and paste.
Hmm.
So I really do believe that over the next 5 years, we'll see the transition of AI. Probably, I mean, from everything that I've been told, the biggest change will be in the next 5 years. I mean, I listened to one gentleman speak at that conference, and they had already ordered their own robot. I mean, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, and you talk, I think the key with that though, Nancy, and what a lot of people aren't thinking about is the cost. It's like
Hmm.
flat screen TVs. Remember when they were so popular, they were like
Yeah.
$3,000 and now you can buy one for like 500.
Yeah.
I think the same thing. And the explanation of how this person was going to utilize that robot, I was just like, wow, it made sense. So I really feel like in in real estate, we're utilizing the AI into our marketing, our Canva, also into our day-to-day emails and communication with our clients.
I think that's great. Yeah. I the you made a strong point as we look at the new technologies, because the technology industry is this anomaly of the it comes out and it gets less and less expensive. There's like an
Right.
anti-inflation with new technologies, right? Because it's the next best thing. And until they come out with laundry robots, I'm not interested. I only want laundry. Just want my laundry done. That's it. I don't want to do laundry ever again. Yeah, if it could do my laundry, I just like let's go. I'll be the first to buy the laundry robot. Um, so tell me a little bit about you personally. What has been the hardest growth challenge for you personally as your business has expanded?
Well, I think honestly, it's letting go. I mean, and I think a lot of people that see the outside don't realize how much I have let go. And, as a business owner, when you say let go, when you build a business on your personal standard, on the way that you show up and especially on how I communicate, I've got to really focus on training. And then once I do the training, it's a matter of letting go. But what I've also, in terms of failing forward on this, is you got to have your checks and balances. Now, I have had my fair share. I used to always say I am the worst manager ever. I am a great salesperson, but when it comes to management, I mean, I need all the help I can get. And my husband has worked on me for 14 years. And I think that's where you have to have those checks and balances where you if you've got somebody that's going on listing appointments for you, I just went on a listing appointment with one of my associates last week, and it was so refreshing and so rewarding because I'm like, man, he just nailed that, and it felt
Yeah.
good. I was like, I taught him right. I taught him the right way. He understands what he's saying. He's not just speaking of a robot. He's not just being robotic and
Mhm.
pumping out the numbers. I mean, he was really able to relate. And I think that when you see what can happen when you empower people, and when I say let go, that could be a lot of different facets, like letting go of that business side, letting go and empowering the people that you work with to say, you know what, they're going to make mistakes. But I've always said there is no mistake that we can't solve. And
Mhm.
I literally, years ago, we made the mistake of putting a property on 100,000 less than the list price. Now, let me tell you, Nancy, that was really before like the big wave of the internet, but
Mhm.
Zillow was huge. Well, back then, and they still, the algorithms in today's world, if you list something significantly less than the market value, Zillow will categorize that into pre foreclosure. Yes. So, I mean, based on their algorithms, that I was like, if we can get through that and the client not fire us, we can get through anything. And I tell people, look, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, but oftentimes, the errors that we make are drastic, so drastic that it's going to cause a property not to sell.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of that growth. That's part of leadership. That's part of failing forward is learning how to empower people and really understanding that not everybody is wired like me.
Mhm.
I mean, and you've got to empower them that what they're doing is their business and they're under that umbrella and the support of the Monarch Group and making sure that I empower them to own it. Because when
Mhm.
you own it, you understand that when you own it, like when it's your child, right? I mean, if your child's
Mhm.
misbehaving, you're like, I didn't teach them that way. So, I mean, I think it's empowering them in a positive and supportive way. And I will tell you what, that has not always been the case with Elizabeth Monarch. I have come a long way. So I tell people, if I can do it, there's hope for everybody. There really is. Because I used to think, why are people in real estate if they don't want to crush it? And it dawned on me that, there are part-time know what they're doing, they're good at what they do, but they just aren't able to make that leap yet. And it's empowering them and understanding that those 4 deals is going to change the trajectory of their family for 2026. So, I've learned a lot just about myself and about really how to manage other personalities.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Awesome. So I met you in a networking group, and I know you're very relationship forward in how you build out your business. How important has networking and local community involvement been in your growth?
110%. Now, what really is phenomenal, and I've experienced some agents, I have met a few rare agents that, I mean, it just blows my mind how they've been able to build their business in just such unique ways.
Mhm.
For me, it's been about, that engaging and engagement. When I first started in this business, I was doing an average of 30 plus charity auctions a year because I was not from Louisville. And you know the saying, what high school did you go to? And I'm like, I went to Breckinridge County High. I'm like, nobody in this city knows where that's located. I'm like, Rough River. And they're like, oh, okay. I mean, I had to give a body of water for people to have reference. So I got involved in junior league. I'm still very involved in junior league. I believe in, giving back to the community. And that was so rewarding for me personally in my 20s and got into BNI, the business networking,
Mhm.
develop those relationships. And what I found was it was more about having the right people with the right mindset to go to get advice for my clients
Mhm.
because I really wanted to build my business and I still work every day. I want to be that resource. I mean, I have people that reach out that, I haven't sold a house to them in 15 years, but they're like, hey, Elizabeth, do you have a good carpet person? Do you have a good,
Mhm.
contractor? Do you have a good plumber? I want to be able to give good, reputable recommendations. And that's really where a lot of those connections have helped me in my business is because if they built their business like I have, then it matters to them and it makes me look good. And I truly
Yeah.
believe that's been a critical point in my business is those relationships and being in the community.
No, I think that's a great point. I love being able to connect people with a resource that's going to ultimately help make their life better. And I think that's a powerful way to build those relationships as well. And I definitely identify with your high school question. People that aren't from here don't understand, but that's the question that is always asked. Well, what high school did you go to when you live in Louisville, Kentucky? I'm not sure why that is the question, but I grew up in Las Vegas. So I went to
So you
school out in
know.
Las Vegas and I'm like, I didn't go to high school here.
So there you go.
Yeah.
You feel my pain there. It's
I
just
get it.
like,
Yeah.
okay, you know.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So let's do one. I'm going to have you look into your crystal ball
Okay.
before we go into the lightning round. But tell me, looking ahead over the next 3 to 5 years, what changes do you think are coming to the real estate industry that agents and brokers really need to start preparing for now?
Well, and I tell you, that kind of made me stop and think a little bit, that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that it's going to be between, like, when I say commodity agents and trusted advisors, that's going to accelerate. And when I say that, what I mean is the agents who are order takers, like they list it, they put it on Zillow, they collect a check. I truly believe that those are the agents that are going to get overtaken by technology.
Mm-hmm.
But the agents, meaning that section and that sector of those commodity agents are going to slowly trickle out. And I truly believe that it's the agents who are deeply embedded in the markets and who have the relationships and who are genuinely irreplaceable. I have always found, Nancy, over the last 24 years that I pride myself on consistency. I
Mm-hmm.
believe consistency is everything in this business. I mean, no matter what you do, you got to do it consistently, at least when it comes to certain marketings for a certain time frame. But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to my business, it's that consistency of the numbers and putting those numbers up year after year after year. And I truly believe that the NAR settlement that happened in August 17th of 2024 has changed everything that we do in this
Mm-hmm.
industry. And a lot of the agents that I have talked to that say, oh, it hadn't changed at all. And I'm like, no, it has changed everything that we have done in terms of how we approach our clients and the consumers. So I really do believe that we're going to start seeing those agents that are deeply embedded in the markets, that have those strong relationships. Those are the agents that are going to thrive in this market.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt like I've thrived when the market hadn't been great, because when the market's not selling like hotcakes, I mean, people don't want to use their best friend and people don't want to use their family member. They want to use somebody that is selling 100 plus homes a year, that's
Right.
out there, that's doing it, no matter if it's an investment property or it's a $50,000 piece of land. They want to use the agent who has the experience to make sure that they, make a good investment.
Right. No, that's a you looked very clearly into the crystal ball, so I appreciate that. I think that was very well stated. Um, all right, so we're gonna do a quick lightning round
Okay.
before we close out. So, what is one real estate myth that you'd love to eliminate forever?
I'm going to wait for a perfect market.
Mm,
There
that's
is no
very
perfect market.
yeah.
The perfect market is the market that your life changes.
Mm.
I mean, because there is no perfect market. There will always be people buying and selling no matter what. So,
That's so true. It's all about where you are in your life. When is the right time for you to sell, or when is the right time for you to buy?
yes,
Very that's a great golden nugget that you just dropped for everyone. What is one daily habit or mindset that helps you stay productive and grounded?
protecting that first hour of the day. I mean, it's that first hour. Years ago, I remember a her name was Jude, and she used to tell me when she was in Corning, New York, when she started her Remax business, she had 3 children, and she said, I got up really early because that was the only time that I had for myself. And I felt like if I didn't do that, then by the end of the day, I was just exhausted, and it was hard for me to reflect back on why I was doing what I was doing. So protecting that first hour of the day. And you know what? That first hour might be 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10.
Mhm.
I think that first hour, it varies on what somebody's lifestyle is like, but protecting that first hour and having that routine is so, so important to me.
I love that. I think that that's a powerful statement. I've seen that be extremely helpful in my life. I definitely have been at my happiest when I have that first hour to myself because I'm always the first one up in the house. So, but having a full hour is very beneficial. What is something people underestimate about being a successful realtor?
Like this question because I really think it's how much of a grief counselor you are, how much of a life coach you are, and conflict resolution. I really believe it's how little of the business is actually about houses. And I say that, Nancy, because when I interview agents, people will say, "Oh, I got into real estate because I love houses." And I really, when I look back and I think about why did I get into real estate? It's because when I helped that first person buy their home, I loved that feeling. They were like, "Oh, Elizabeth, you were so great." I was like, "Oh, oh, I want more of that feeling." It's like, so really it is less about houses and more about that conflict resolution and really navigating your client
Mhm.
through their life challenges that they're going through.
Yeah. Very, very well said. I appreciate that. And then the last one, very easy. Where is the best place for people to connect with you?
I would say Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Those are three places that are great to keep up with what we're doing, events that we have. We do a lot of 28% of our business is with the senior space. So, we
Mm.
do events and we're always hosting Shred the Word days and all kinds of fun stuff. So you can follow us on Instagram and on our Facebook or on our website.
Awesome, perfect. And we'll include all of that in the show notes. So, Elizabeth, this was a really wonderful conversation. I love hearing from professionals that are not only building successful businesses, but doing it in a way that really benefits their clients and ends up being a sustainable long-term business. And you're an exemplary person that is clearly doing just that. So, thank you so much for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And to those listeners out there, if you enjoyed this episode of the Seven Figure Broker podcast, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with another agent, entrepreneur, or business owner who you think might find value in this conversation. As always, innovation creates possibility, implementation turns it into growth. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.